Most business owners are creating content backwards. They're trying to get views when they should be building trust. And when you're selling 10,000, 50,000, and 100,000 plus services, trust is everything. What most people don't understand is your content is your sales team. Every video is either making your sales calls easier or it's just entertaining people who never buy from you. But more importantly, I'm Logan Forsyth and my team has generated over 6 billion views and 1 million leads for our clients across 34 industries. But more importantly, we figured out exactly what separates content that gets views from content that actually makes money. Today, I'm going to show you the 4 pillars that turn viewers into high ticket buyers. And this is all about getting the right views from people who are ready to spend serious money with you. So we've broken this down into chapters, and chapter 1 is to make them feel like you get it. When someone's about to spend $25,000 with you, they're not just buying your service, they're betting on you as a person. And the biggest mistake that business owners make is only leading with their credentials instead of showing that they actually understand the struggle. Why this actually matters is that leaning on credentials alone creates distance instead of connection, and your Harvard MBA doesn't make the viewer feel understood. A contractor who shares his scaling struggles converts way better than one who just talks about his 20 years of experience. What's really happening in people's brain when they're watching your content is that people trust and buy from people who seem similar to them. So when you share real struggle, the viewer's brain actually fires the same way as if they're experiencing it, and this creates real connection at a brain level. Being vulnerable works better than trying to just impress them all the time and only leading with your credentials. So instead of leading with videos saying something like, I've helped over 500 companies scale their operations, you can try something else like 3 years ago, I was working 80-hour weeks and my team was putting out fires every day and I felt like I was running a circus instead of a business. You can see how the first example is just leaning on credentials and the second example is showing vulnerability and relatability by speaking on storytelling through problems. So let's go through a few different examples by industries. One would be if you're a marketing consultant, don't start just by speaking on your agency's revenue numbers and stats you've generated. Instead, you can start by telling a story. Something like, I used to lie awake at 3 a.m. wondering why our Facebook ads were burning through cash with nothing to show for it. Then from there, you can share the exact moment where you figured out what actually works, right? And you can see how opening up with vulnerability and sharing your struggles makes you more relatable to the viewers. So for business coaches, you could skip the I built a 7-figure company opening and then instead lead with, I remember staring at my bank account with $847 left, knowing I had to make payroll in 3 days. Again, we're starting with vulnerability and you're talking about the exact emotions and fears that people may be dealing with right now or have dealt with in the past. So let's go through a few steps on how to structure these stories. Step 1 is share the specific struggle with real numbers in detail. Step 2, you want to describe how it felt, what you were thinking and feeling throughout the process. Step 3, you then want to connect what they're going through. So you can say something like, maybe you're feeling this right now. And then step 4, bridge to your solution without pitching yet. So an example script that you could use would be something along the lines of this. Last year, one of our clients came to us after burning through $180,000 in Facebook ads with almost nothing to show for it. And the worst part wasn't the money, it was the doubt. He started questioning everything, his offer, his market, even whether he was cut out for business. And that's the call that changed how we approach content strategy forever. Now let's dive into chapter 2, where you prove you actually know what you're doing. In chapter 1, getting them to relate to you opens the door, and then proving you can solve their problem gets you the sale. But you have to earn the right to show your expertise by first proving you understand their world. So the simple and best formula for this that always works is starting with your shared struggle, then embedding your method, adding real results, and that leads to trust. You want to show your actual process and don't just claim that you're an expert. You can do this by filming yourself with clients, show the spreadsheets that you use, the strategy sessions that you've had, and the real work that you produce. The lesson here is show and don't tell. So look at your business, look at your day-to-day, look at the real results that you produce and the work that you produce, and then ask yourself, how can you show this more in your content? So to go through some examples, instead of just saying we're experts at scaling companies, you can show this is the exact process we use for every new client. First, we look at their current content performance, and then here's what their dashboard looks like. See here how their Instagram reels get 50K views, but then their conversion rate is only 0.2%. That tells us their content entertains but doesn't sell. And then here's how we fix that. Another example is how to tell case studies that actually work. So a weak case study example would be, we helped a client increase their revenue by 300%. A strong case study example would be, David runs a $3 million construction company in Texas, and his biggest problem wasn't getting leads. He got plenty of referrals. His problem was that every project needed him personally to close the deal and manage everything. He was the bottleneck. And so here's the very exact system we built to remove him from the day-to-day work while actually increasing his close rates. You can see the first just leads with a stat, the second leads with a story. I've also found it's helpful to break down your method, but don't give everything away. Give them a peek behind the curtain and have them understand the process. So going back to the example with David and starting with the problem, then leading to how you have the solution, we can pick this up. And the way that I'd start this without giving away the entire enchilada is by breaking it down phase by phase. So you can say phase 1, we analyze your current content to figure out why it's not converting. Then phase 2, we create 3 different angles for every video and test them across multiple accounts. Phase 3, we track which content actually drives sales calls, and then we just do way more of that. To sum it up, we found the best ways to show your expertise is to share data and studies that back up what you're saying, make predictions that you can prove later, explain complicated stuff in simple terms, connect big trends to what it means for their business, and show the tools, systems, and team that actually gets results and solves their problems. By the way, what I'm breaking down for you and sharing for free on this channel is truly just a fraction of what we do for our clients. We've analyzed tens of thousands of viral videos, fed all of them into a custom AI to pick up on the patterns, frameworks, hooks, and more, and then use that to come in and shape your content strategy. We come in with top-tier editing, world-class talent who will take charge of your socials, and typically are generating more organic leads than our clients have ever experienced before over and over again. And organic leads close at higher rates, they pay more money, they stay for longer, they refer more people, and are much more profitable because there's no ad spend to acquire them as a customer. Therefore, they're more valuable to your business. We create floods of them. We split test multiple hooks for every video we're posting for you, and we create omnipresence for your brand across all platforms without adding additional time to your plate. You must be doing at least $3 million per year in your business or more, but if you want to work with the best, that's truly what we've built with our team. And if that sounds like you, you'll see a link in the description below where you can check out our case study training that goes into detail on our service, content systems, and client results. And after watching the video, you'll have the opportunity to apply to work with our team. We're extremely selective about who we work with because we have limited bandwidth, but if it sounds like you, make sure to check out the link in the description below and apply to work with us. So now let's dive into chapter 3, where we want to handle their concerns before they even bring them up. The goal is by the time that someone gets on a sales call with you, they've already decided that they trust you, and your content should answer 80% of their questions before they ever talk to you. This works because people hate being sold to, but love buying from someone that they trust. And when you address their concerns through helpful content, it feels like advice rather than sales, which removes their guard and makes them see you as helpful instead of pushy. An example would be a client asked, why does your service cost $20,000 a month when I can hire a different agency for $5,000 a month? The reality is that $5,000 a month agency only edits your content while hiring the cheapest talent to offer that price. And we're going to come in and take over your entire content strategy and drive thousands of leads monthly. We've had clients where their social revenue went from 4 million to 8 million last year alone. So it's not evaluating 20,000 per month versus 5,000 per month. It's evaluating 4 million plus in annual revenue potential by working with a top tier team versus working with the cheapest talent. The second most common objection that people have is I don't have the time. And an ideal approach here is to show them what waiting actually costs. Every month you wait costs you growth that builds on itself. And so if we can come in and increase your leads by 300% starting next month, that's not just 3 months of better results, that's missing out on the foundation for massive compounding growth in the future. Time is not your enemy with this, not making a decision is. The third big objection is, will this work for my business? When this comes up, you want to share examples from their exact industry. So another example would be, people ask if content works for boring B2B businesses. And last month, we helped an industrial equipment company go from 50 to 328 leads per month. Here's exactly how we made heavy machinery interesting on social media. The fourth big objection is, I've been burned before. And so in your content, you can acknowledge their bad experiences. An example intro would be, if agencies have burned you before, I get it. Most agencies treat you like a monthly payment instead of a partner. And that's why we work largely performance-based. If we don't hit our targets, we don't deserve to make money. So here's the simple flow template that you can use for handling concerns in your content. You'd start by saying, the biggest mistake I see your audience making is this specific mistake. Here's why it happens and how to fix it. Then you want to explain that in detail and say, this is exactly what we did for this client, and here's what happened. And then you speak on these specific results. Now, chapter 4 of making more money from your content is to make your results impossible to ignore. Saying, I'm great to work with doesn't convince someone to spend $240,000 with you. You need proof that addresses their specific concerns and shows clear return on investment. So the 3 types of proof you need is, first, the results they want. These should be specific, measurable outcomes your prospects want for themselves. An example would be, Sarah's accounting selling firm went from 800,000 to 3.2 million in 18 months. But here's what matters most, she's working 25% fewer hours. The systems we built handled getting and nurturing clients automatically. The second type of proof is how you actually got those results. So this comes to showing how you achieved the results, not just saying what you achieved. An example would be, here's the exact strategy that got Marcus 847 qualified leads in 90 days. First, we figured out his ideal customer, which were mid-sized manufacturing CEOs with supply chain problems. Then we created content addressing their three biggest concerns, which was cost control, reliable vendors, and smooth operations. And then each video followed our proven formula. The third type of proof is by breaking down what you're actually like to work with. And you do this by showing you're the type of person that they want to be as a partner in their business. An example would be when Tom's campaign wasn't working in month 2, I personally flew to Chicago to figure it out. It turns out his sales team needed training on closing the leads that we were generating. So we spent 3 days rebuilding their entire process. And that's the level of partnership that you get when you're working with us. So here's a framework on how to structure testimonials that actually work. The template is client was worried about this specific concern, and here's what actually happened. Then tell a detailed story, and you end it by saying, now this is the current situation. So an example could be, Mike was worried about working with an agency that didn't understand construction and asked, how can you create content for contractors when you've never run a construction company? 6 months later, he went from 12 projects a year to 47 projects. And he said our content strategy understood his customers better than his own sales team did. You can also borrow credibility from massive authorities to have some of that credibility show to yourself, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do this. So I'll give you some wrong and right examples. A wrong way would be, we use the same strategies as Gary Vee and Grant Cardone. The right way would be, Grant Cardone's multi-account strategy generates millions of views every month, and we've taken that approach and adapted it specifically for service-based businesses. Here's how it's going to work for companies doing $3 to $50 million a year. You can also combine multiple types of proof and layer in different types of proof into one story. An example would be, when Alex Hermosi posted about the importance of content for business growth, it reminded me of our client Jennifer. She runs a $15 million recruiting firm and was skeptical about social media. She was saying that her clients are Fortune 500 CEOs and they're not watching TikTok videos. But 18 months later, after working with us, over 60% of her new business comes from leads generated through her content, including 3 Fortune 100 contracts worth $2.3 million. Sometimes the biggest skeptics become the biggest success stories. There's also really helpful questions to ask before you post anything. One is, does this speak or relate to my ideal client? Would my ideal client see themselves in the story? Does this address a real concern that they have about working with me? And is this just entertaining or is it actually compelling? Here's what you want to track instead of views and likes. First, quality of your sales calls. Are they coming in and do they already trust you if they've watched your content? Second is time from when someone finds you to when they buy. Third, really pay attention to objections that don't come up on calls anymore because they're embedded in your content systems. Fourth, referrals from people who found you through content. And fifth, how people respond to your emails and messages. Following these steps and embedding these frameworks as part of your content strategy will absolutely allow you to build more trust, grow an audience with the right people, and make a lot more revenue and profit from your content versus just chasing views and creating entertainment that actually doesn't produce results for your business. If you're in a business doing over $3 million per year and you want our team to handle all of this for you, to come in and take over your content strategy, handle the editing, split test multiple hooks for every single video, tap into omnipresence for you and your brand, and we're consistently generating our clients more organic leads than they've ever seen before, then you should apply to work with us. We're extremely selective about who we do work with because we have limited bandwidth on that and only want to work with businesses that we see a very long-term partnership potential with. You can check out the link in the description below. It also includes a case study training video that goes into how our service and content systems work in detail. It'll show client results that we've gotten. And if it still seems like something that makes sense for you and your business, then you'll have the opportunity to apply. Outside of that, thanks for watching this video. Share this with someone else that would get value from it, and make sure to hit that subscribe button for more weekly trainings like this one. And I'll see you in the next video.